Greetings, YouTube. I've been looking at Pathfinder 2nd Edition recently, and when I was looking at the GM's guide, I was very much impressed with the amount of generic content. What do I mean by that? I mean by stuff that could be applicable to any fantasy system, not just Pathfinder. There's a lot to chew on in the DM's guide that could very much be used regardless of what system you're using. And they were just talking about like campaigns. So you're designing your overall arching campaign, and then you're going to be talking about like the kingdom it's set in, and then your settlement. So and the way they set them up, and they have uh, a standardized way of presenting information, so at a glance you could tell sizes and people's population densities and things. Just a format. And they gave a couple of examples, and one of them, which the name escaped me, dealt with a country where they have banned divine magic. In fact, even worshiping divine beings is illegal. So if you engage in worship, that's wrong inside this kingdom. Now, banning someone's religious practices is wrong regardless. That's unethical and immoral. So right off the bat, these people are committing, in my book, irreparable harm to others. You shouldn't be telling other people who they can and cannot worship, so long as how they practice their religion is not harming other people. Also, there is no way to ban someone's faith. You may be able to ban some of the overt public trappings of it, but you can never take away somebody's faith. I could take off my holy symbols. I could be stripped of every item or every book I have, and it wouldn't affect my ability to pray at all. It wouldn't affect my connection to my divine belief system in the least. And so that's right there is just absurd. The Soviets tried it. The Chinese have tried it. They have failed miserably. You just cannot ban someone's faith. But it's even more absurd in a high fantasy game where divinity is real. I mean, some high fantasy games, you may bump in to divine beings, as in you could find their avatars like walking the planet itself. And their minions, angels and demons and devils, they're real things. You could reach out and poke them, okay? So don't you find it a little absurd to say that we're banning this entire branch of magic and all the trappings thereof and making it illegal? Besides the practical ramifications of this, which is people will die. Now, this particular country excels at mundane medical research, obviously. And I don't know if they mentioned alchemical use, so it could be conceivable that they consider alchemical medications acceptable, that they would not be considered, because there are alchemical healing processes in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. They're just not as efficient as Divinity, and that makes sense. But they're kind of bridging the gap between the mundane and the divine. They're kind of somewhere in between. They are a magical thing, an alchemical process that produces a result that helps other people. And there's also the question: would like the alchemists, some of their concoctions that they make, which cause mutations in others, would they be considered acceptable? Because you can literally end up with weird physical characteristics, and would they be considered acceptable? And would that then drive research into mutagenic processes that would emulate some of the divine healing that is illegal in this place? But why would you do that? And you cannot tell me for a heartbeat that the rich in this country do not have access to all the divine magic they want, because that's how it works in power structures. For example, in America, there are some very powerful conservatives that are using the abortion issue to get themselves elected and get themselves a lot of power and authority. But if a member of their family needed one, they're going to have it, because they can afford private doctors. So they will never not have access to abortions, ever. Even if they deny them to 99.999% of the people in America, they will always have access to them. Same thing, if you ban divinity, divine magic in a country, the rich and powerful will still have access to it. But again, how can you say that atheism is the way I'm going to go when they're real? Divine caster could walk into your country, go, and show you, I am channeling the power of my God, right through my, right out of my heartstone or whatever the hell it is, and there you are. It's right there. There is no way to deny its existence. Zero. So it's even more absurd than trying to ban it here in the real world. So that just baffles me because it's not the first time I've seen this. Now there are areas, for example, in Pathfinder First Edition, in the Galarian setting, there is a country where magic does not work. So they're kind of a steampunky. They have lots of firearms. That's where firearms were invented, and that's where the firearms proliferated out of. To the gunslingers and things like that have moved from there out into the wider world. But you can't have magic there. So it makes sense that you would then have to have some kind of mundane healing if you're going to live there. Otherwise, you're going to have to leave where you live to go out into the wider world. Of course, that also begs the question, if you're living in a world where magic is real, why would you want to live in a place where magic doesn't work? Now, it does make you safer from magic, but it doesn't make you safer from a lot of other things, because let's face it, you're not safe in this real world if somebody really wants to do you harm. It just makes you safe from magic. So maybe that simplifies your defenses? I don't know. Regardless, I personally definitely want to live in a place where magic works, because magic is awesome. And if I had access to divine healing, I am going to do it in a heartbeat. I have a bum pancreas. I am a diabetic. If I could go and pay someone to cast me and remove, is it remove disease? Or yeah, I think it's called cure disease, and suddenly make me not diabetic, let me have sensation in my feet again, make me not have bleeding retinas, I'm going to do it. And to deny the entire population of your nation access to this is an act of moral bankruptcy. So I was mystified by the concept of atheism in a high fantasy game. I've never understood it. And it makes even less sense in some systems that you have faith points. For example, Radiance. You get faith points, so everybody can access the divine world, not just spellcasters. You use your faith points as a way of divine currency to get things out of your faith to your god or gods. So everyone has access to some kind of faith-based power. Admittedly, if you're a meat shield, you're going to have a lot less than a divine caster. But you still have access to that kind of stuff. So it makes no sense to me at all, atheism. Never has, never will in a high fantasy setting. People who say, I don't believe in the gods. Well, how? How can you not believe in the gods? And is there some tangible benefit? Because if there isn't a tangible benefit, then it makes even much less sense. You're going to tell me that, you get a benefit from not believing in the gods. Okay, maybe I can buy it. Somebody who's gaming the system. But if there isn't a benefit and it's just an RP thing, that's absurd in my book. People are going to look at you like you are a nutter, because in all practical reality, you are.